oh, I planned this, but did we actually do it? I screenshot it or download the image. Whenever you see this arrow sign that shoots to the sky, I'm just a hoarder of websites. So you don't have to be as crazy as this. I am so excited to be making this video. I'm going to be talking about the parent dashboard that I have on Notion. I keep track of everything related to my children. I have a 3-year-old and a 3-month-old, and I keep track of medical stuff, a toy wish list, all the homeschool related things I have. It's all in one place. It's very neat and very organized. I can find things easily and put things that I learn about, that I find out about, like a cool website, in this Notion database. And it's like an all-in-one place where things don't get lost and I can find them easily. So let's get started. So here is the parent dashboard, and I'm going to be going over all the pages here on under navigation, and then I'll go over the rest of what you see on this right side. So at the top here, I have a section labeled information, and the pages under here, I'll be going through them. So the first one is daycare info. So in here, I used to keep like the email address, the phone number, the date my son started going to daycare, the monthly payment, just like everything at a glance related to daycare was in here. My son no longer goes to daycare, so it's empty right now. This next page is called Wishlist. So it's a database where I keep track of the toys that I want to buy for like birthdays and holidays and things like that. So I don't have to, you know, when those dates come along, I don't have to think on the spot of what to get them. So for example, here I open Lego and I can say what kind of category it is. And then I also can say which child it's for, the date I bought it, the estimated cost. I can also add an image here, a priority level, and the store. And I also can add a URL. So super simple and easy. Next thing is the medical page. So on the medical page, it's something new that I recently created, so I left it blank for this video. But for example, in here, I want to keep track of both of my children's like height and weight, and also their blood type, and if they had any surgeries or like facts like that in terms of health that I can easily glance at. And then down here, I have a database where I can create an item saying whether they had a checkup appointment that day, or they had a hospital, like an emergency visit to the hospital. So for example, I can click on Feb 1st and say it was like an emergency visit to the hospital for, you know, X, Y reason. And then I can say which child it was for, and then I can write maybe who the doctor was, and then down here I can write notes. This is a really good way to like look at the past and easily recall information about their health and the doctor visits and so on. So I just want to pause here and say that if you have never used Notion before, you can still follow along on this video, and you'll kind of get the gist of what Notion is and what you can do with it by watching. I think I'll make a video on how to use Notion as a beginner if you have no idea what it is. Anyway, let's keep going. So the next page is my learning notes. I'm not going to open that one, but it's just a database where I keep track of the things I've read and watched and on YouTube, and related to like parenting, homeschooling, and there's just my notes, like my learning notes from those things. Below that, I have a page here called Extracurriculars, and below I just want to keep track of all the type of sports that my son does now and will do in the future. So it's just a simple page. So I have here just a heading 2025, and then I have here Amir Gymnastics, January 9th to March 6th, once a week, and then the price, and then the email of the organization. I also write down like free things. So we go skating once a week since December. So I write that down as well, just so that I can look back and see what he was doing, you know, in this year. And you know, as they grow up, I imagine this page will get filled up some more. Okay, so that was everything in the information section of the navigation. Now I'm going into the homeschooling section. So the first page here I have is called Homeschool Schedule. So in here above, I just have this blurb about what I would want to do on a day that we're homeschooling. So I just have that list there to recall what type of things I can do. And then here I just have a calendar to plan out the activities I want to do on a particular day. So I can go back to when we were doing homeschooling. So give me a sec. Okay, so here I'm in October, before my daughter was born. She was born on the 25th. Here I have the days planned out. So let's look at the Wednesday, the 16th. Count pom-poms in clear bottles and put bottles on top of the number quantity, includes 0. So I have the name of the activity that we're going to do in, I guess, it's clear to me. If it's not clear to you, that's fine. You can write it the way you want, as long as it's clear to you. That's what I wrote. And then here I have the type of activity, what like subject is going through. I have like math, sensory art, fine motor, letters matching. A sheet activity is kind of like it deals with paper, and logic, pre-writing, and math. The date gets automatically populated when you create an item. So when you press the plus sign, the date automatically fills in. So that wasn't something I filled in. And then I have this check mark property, whether we did it or not, or he did it or not. So it's nice to look back like, oh, I planned this, but did we actually do it? So that's nice. I have an image here, but this image gets populated automatically by this relational database. Okay, I realize now that I'm starting to talk like more in technical Notion terms, but basically this property here, all these things are called properties, and this activity list property is a database that is referring to something else, but I can link it in this one. That's the beauty of using Notion, is that you can link everything. Yeah, so this links to a different database that I'll go into later, and this one as well. So paint with cotton balls, the letter M, and then I'll show you a couple more. This is pre-writing letters. Write down different letters on the whiteboard and ask him to erase that letter. I guess we were focusing on the letter M that week. So yeah, that's my homeschool schedule page. Okay, next page I'm gonna go into is called standards. As my son gets older, I'm going to create more, do more research and write them as notes into this page. But right now I only have preschool standards and kindergarten standards. And then over on the right here, I have just the Canadian grade in comparison to age. I never went to school. I'm not familiar with the grade and age here, so I just have that as a note. So here are just 2 pages where I listed the standards of each of the preschool, what they'll be learning, I guess, in that particular grade. So I went through homeschool schedule standards. Now I'm going to quickly go into the activity list. So in here, whenever I see a cool activity on a YouTube video or on Pinterest, I screenshot it or download the image, and then I put it as an entry into this database so that when I'm creating my plan in the homeschool schedule page that you saw earlier, I can kind of link the activity that I'm planning from that page with this one. Actually, I'll show you how I do that real quick. And let's do it for Feb 3rd today. And I'm gonna look through all the activity lists here, and maybe I want to do stick stickers on letters or numbers. It's like dot stickers and then my son would place the dot sticker on the letter. And then since this is already an existing activity in this activity list, I would just on letter, for example, and then I would write down maybe it was the letter J that we're learning. So it's really simple, just like that, how I would make an activity. Okay, back to the activity list page. Okay, so I'm gonna open one of the activities here, and here I just upload an image to go with this activity, because sometimes I can write it and then not remember what it was, so that's why I link an image. And then here is another database that I'm linking to, which I'll show you. I think it's the next page. Sorry, it's not the pages aren't organized by what I'm showing you. So an activity, what type of concept or skill is it focusing on? Well, matching number quantity to a number index card would be focusing on the concept of recognizing a number 0 to 10, and counting 0 to 10 and understanding number quantities. So all of these 3 things are to do with this particular activity. I hope that makes sense. So I actually want to go back to the standards page, because we were just looking at the preschool standards linked database in that activity list database. And I realized I didn't show you what's inside of here. So in here, I have a database of preschool standards that I got from a paid resource from JDA's Teachers by Teachers website, and I'll link it down below. But basically there's a list of things that preschoolers should know, and then I just it was a PDF when you buy it, and then I just copied every item there and here, and then I kind of categorized what type of standard that was. So understands big and small, it's like a measurement. And I would do the same for recognizes and names primary colors. It was to do with colors and shapes. So I can click on this and you can see like all the different targets, I guess, like that each of this standard would cover, you know. So there's a lot in this column, what to do now, when I first made this database, and what to do first. So I said understands big and small. Well, that's something that I want to do now before recognizes and names secondary colors, for example. I want to do understands long and short before we do like tracing shapes. So it's just like the order of the standard that I want to focus on before doing another one. That's that property, what to do now. And then the status is whether he's mastered it or we're currently practicing it, or we haven't started on doing that particular standard. So obviously these are like concepts and skills, and then in the activity list it's a particular activity, and that particular activity would focus on a particular standard. So that's how I kind of keep organizing it in my mind when I, you know, plan out what type of activity I want to do with him, whether it targets this particular thing. I'm really type A, as you can see. Like, I think, you know, homeschooling, preschool, you don't have to be as crazy as this. This is a date last assessed. I didn't fill it out since I don't remember when that was. Whenever you see this arrow sign that shoots to the sky, that means it's linked to a different database. This is also the activity list database. And then I'm gonna just move this here since this is more important. And then here I have the date that when we're focusing on that particular standard. Back to the next page on the homeschooling navigation section, and that is preschool. So in preschool, quickly, I just have this database of preschool resources. So I just have the type, what it is, and then the URL, and then like who is the like author of it, and a description, a grade level. I have the next page I'm going to show you is a homeschooling resources, and these preschool resources are within that whole homeschool resources. So I'll get into more of that later. Here I just have a page of preschool themes. And then here below, I just have this thing that you saw on the dashboard. It's red, meaning that whatever I write here, you're gonna see on the dashboard. So I can go back to the dashboard and you can see these letters that I just added. And here I just write down the monthly things that we're gonna focus on. For example, like I'm gonna review these letters with Amir in the month of February. So once it's March, I'll just copy this goal here and go here and then just paste it. Checked whether we did that or not. So at the end of the year, I can look back and see the things that we were focusing on for preschool for that year. So next page is one of my most used pages, is this homeschooling resource database. So here I have all the resources that I've collected, and basically they're just websites. I write down what that particular URL is referring to, and then I write down whether it's a printable or a website that I can read on, and whether it's a curriculum. Here's the URL, and then this property is the subject. So what type of subject is that website targeting, I guess. And some of them can be like multiple areas. I have a description, and then I also have the grade level for that, and whether it has cost and the date that I've added it, and then again, who is the author. I have this, some of the websites are a future resource, so not even something that I'm considering now. something that's far into the future. And here I have a grade 4 as well for this particular website. So I imagine, you know, as my son gets older, this database is going to get filled up even more with things that, like websites I've collected. And I'm just a hoarder of websites. I also do this for coding since I'm a software developer, and I have a different Notion page where I clicked so many different websites for different tools for coding and so on. So down here is something new that I'm doing, and it's a homeschooling journal. So it's just going to be a page where I take notes of, you know, interesting things, of a thing that happened on that particular homeschool day. It came as an inspiration for me from reading, I forget the name of the book, put a screenshot here on the screen. As my son gets older, I'm gonna make a new page called Kindergarten, you know, 2026 to 2027 type of thing. As my son gets older and my daughter gets older, I'm gonna have a longer homeschooling journal entries. So the way I make an entry, I'm not going to open it, but I just write down like the day. So like today, and that would mark today, or I would say like Feb 1st, and then it would write down there, and then I'd write down everything like that. The reason why I wouldn't put my entries into like a calendar database that you saw on like the medical page or the homeschool schedule page is because I couldn't be able to search the page. So for example, I wanted to see if during the preschool year we did something interesting of dinosaurs, and I can easily look up dinosaur in a single page like this. But if it was in a database and I've tested it, you can't really search your entries for the word dinosaur if it was like written in each page. So that's why I have it in here marked that way. That's everything for the homeschool navigation. Next in this section, I just have a link to a page called projects. And here I just have one project, but as I got older, if we're doing any type of projects, for example, like a science project, I would, you know, easily create that here. And within each project, I do have like a to-do list and a description. Yeah, so that was the projects. And then here I have a couple pages in terms of life documentation. So I want to start writing a memory journal. I haven't really filled this page up, but in here I would, with the same thing as the homeschooling journal, for the memory journal, I want to start writing like certain things about, you know, my kids that they do in a day, any interesting things, any sweet moments that I want to write down. So I don't imagine they'd be long, just like snippets of things. So the next page here I have is milestones. So this is something I just copied on, I guess, ChatGPT, but I also checked with another website, and it's just a list of milestones in each type of category, like physical, social, and I also similarly have it for a 3-year-old. So next here I have this habit tracker page, which is a new thing that I want to start doing. And basically I want to keep track of a couple of habits, I guess, whether we read aloud. So we read every single day, but this read aloud thing I want to keep track of is like books that are not like picture books or board books. So they're actually like longer stories or like nonfiction things I want to read. I want to try to do that every day. And whether we homeschooled that day, and then whether we did any drawing. I've been doing drawing every day, almost every day with my son since he was like 1, and whether he cleaned up his toys. So if he did all of that day, then I would just check it off like that. So that's all the pages for life documentation. And in this other are things that don't go into those other categories above. This is the play activities page, which is like one of the first things I ever made. And basically it's just a list of all the things my son plays with or does. And I just categorize it, whether it's like cognitive development, fine motor skills. I made this ages ago, like when my son was like 15 months or something. And I wrote down whether it needed like a setup or a medium setup or a lot of setup is needed, if we needed to do it together or independent play. We don't need to do that together anymore, so I actually can go in there and like uncheck that. So I have like, if we need to do it together, it's a check. If it needs to set up beforehand, it's also a check. And this status is like whether he's done it or not, or we haven't tried it for when he's older. I don't go to this page anymore, but that's like one of the first things I created. I just have an archive, so any page that I don't want to use anymore, I just put in there. Okay, so now we're back at the parent dashboard, and here I just have the call out that I showed earlier, and then below here I have another one for a daily schedule, and here is just the habit tracker database that I showed earlier. I just copied it over here so that I could see it on the dashboard, and then below here are the current targets that I had in the preschool standards page. These different things are views of the database. So all current targets, I don't have a filter on it right now, but in this practicing tab, I have a filter on it, meaning that all the standards you see here have this practicing status property on it. And then mastered similarly would have the status complete on it. Oh, sorry, I meant mastered on it. So on the not started tab, I also have the status not started. So I would see all the standards here that have a status of not started. This is really the beauty of Notion, where you can create these databases and the views that you want, so you can quickly look at your database that way. So that's everything on my parent dashboard. I will leave a free copy of it down below, and I hope this was helpful and entertaining to see how crazy I am, and I'll see you later. Bye.